Judges 13 verses 1 to 25, the birth of Samson. Once again, the Israelites did evil, and God allowed them to be oppressed by the Philistines for 40 years. In the town of Zorah, a man named Manoah from the tribe of Dan had a wife who was barren. But God had plans for them. An angel of the Lord appeared to Manoah's wife and announced that she would give birth to a son. This child was to be a Nazirite, set apart for God even from the womb. She was instructed to avoid wine, fermented drink, and unclean food, because her son would be used by God to begin delivering Israel from their oppressors. Manoah, not present at the time, prayed to see the man of God again for further instruction. God answered, and the angel reappeared. Manoah sought guidance on how to raise the promised child and wanted to honor the visitor with a meal. The angel declined food but instructed them to offer a burnt offering to the Lord. As they did, a miraculous sign occurred. The angel ascended into heaven through the flame of the offering. Awestruck, Manoah feared they would die for having seen God. But his wife reassured him that God's acceptance of their offering meant they were safe. In time, the woman gave birth to Samson, and as he grew, the Lord blessed him, and the Spirit of the Lord began to stir within him in Mahanadan, near Zorah and Eshtaol. Judges 14. Samson's marriage, and the riddle. Samson went down to Timnah and saw a young Philistine woman. When he returned home, he told his parents, "I have seen a woman in Timnah. Now get her for me as my wife." His parents asked, "Isn't there a woman among our people you can marry? Why go to the Philistines?" But Samson insisted, "Get her for me. She is right in my eyes." They did not know this was from the Lord, who was using the situation to begin to confront the Philistines who were ruling over Israel. On the way to Timnah, a young lion came towards Samson. The Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him, and he tore the lion apart with his bare hands. He told no one what he had done. Later, when he came back to marry the woman, he saw the lion's body. A swarm of bees and honey were inside it. He took some honey and ate it. He also gave some to his parents, but did not tell them where it came from. At the wedding feast, Samson told the Philistines a riddle. Out of the eater came something to eat, and out of the strong came something sweet. He made a deal. If they solved the riddle in 7 days, he would give them 30 sets of clothes. If they could not, they would give him 30 sets. After 3 days, they could not solve it. On the 4th day, they pressured Samson's wife, saying, "Get the answer from your husband, or we will burn you in your father's house." She wept before Samson and begged him to tell her. On the 7th day, he gave in and told her, and she told the Philistines. Before sunset that day, the men answered the riddle. "What is sweeter than honey? What is stronger than a lion?" Samson said, "If you had not plowed with my heifer, you would not have solved my riddle." Then the Spirit of the Lord came upon him. He went to Ashkelon, struck down 30 men, took their clothes, and gave them to those who had solved the riddle. Burning with anger, he returned to his father's home. Meanwhile, Samson's wife was given to one of the men who had been his companion at the feast. Judges 15. After some time, Samson went to visit his wife. He took a young goat as a gift. But when he arrived, her father would not let him see her. Her father said, "I was sure you hated her, so I gave her to your friend. But her younger sister is more beautiful. You can have her instead." Samson said, "This time I cannot be blamed for what I do to the Philistines." So Samson went and caught 300 foxes. He tied them tail to tail in pairs and fastened a torch to each pair. Then he lit the torches and let the foxes run through the Philistines' grain fields, vineyards, and olive groves, burning everything down. The Philistines asked, "Who did this?" They were told, "Samson," because his wife was given to his friend. In anger, the Philistines went and burned Samson's wife and her father. Samson said, "Because you did this, I will not stop until I get revenge." He attacked them and killed many. Then he went to live in a cave in the rock of Adam. Later, the Philistines came to Judah and camped near Lehi. The people of Judah asked, "Why have you come?" They said, "We have come to capture Samson." So 3,000 men of Judah went to Samson and said, "Don't you know the Philistines rule over us? What have you done to us?" Samson replied, "I only did to them what they did to me." They said, "We've come to tie you up and hand you over to them." Samson said, "Swear that you won't kill me yourselves." They agreed, tied him with 2 new ropes and took him to the Philistines. As he approached, the Philistines shouted against him. Then the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon Samson. The ropes fell from his hands like burnt strings. He found the jawbone of a donkey, picked it up, and struck down 1,000 men. Then he said, "With a donkey's jawbone, I have killed 1,000 men." He threw the jawbone away, and the place was called Ramath-Lehi. After the battle, Samson was very thirsty. He cried out to the Lord, "You have given me this great victory, but must I now die of thirst and fall into the hands of my enemies?" God opened up a hollow place in Lehi, and water came out. Samson drank, his strength returned, and he revived. So the spring was called En-Hakkore, and it is still there in Lehi. Samson led Israel for 20 years during the time of the Philistines. Judges 16. In the days of the judges, there was a man named Samson, chosen by God from birth to deliver Israel from the Philistines. One day, Samson went to Gaza, a Philistine city. There, he spent the night with a prostitute. When the people of Gaza heard he was in town, they planned to ambush him at sunrise. But Samson left in the middle of the night. He didn't sneak away quietly. He grabbed the city gate, pulled it from the ground, and carried it on his shoulders to the top of a hill. No one could stop him. Later, Samson fell in love with a woman named Delilah from the valley of Sorek. The rulers of the Philistines came to her and said, "Trick him. Find out the secret of his strength so we can capture him. We'll each give you silver." So Delilah began to ask Samson, "What makes you so strong? How can you be tied up?" At first, Samson played with her. "If I'm tied with 7 fresh bowstrings," he said, "I'll become weak." She tied him up. Then she shouted, "Samson, the Philistines are here." But he snapped the strings like they were nothing. Delilah was angry. "You lied to me. Tell me the truth." So Samson said, "If I'm tied with new ropes, I'll become weak." She tied him again and called out, "The Philistines are here." But again he broke free. Delilah begged again and again. Finally, Samson said, "If my hair is cut, I will lose my strength. I've been dedicated to God from birth." Delilah knew he had told her the truth. She called the Philistine rulers. Samson fell asleep on her lap, and while he slept, his hair was shaved off. Then Delilah cried, "Samson, the Philistines are here." He woke up thinking he'd escape like before, but he didn't know the Lord had left him. The Philistines captured him, blinded him, and took him to Gaza. They forced him to grind grain in prison. But while he worked, his hair began to grow back. One day, the Philistines gathered for a great festival to honor their god Dagon. They brought Samson out of prison to entertain the crowd. They placed him between the temple pillars. Blind and broken, Samson prayed, "Lord God, remember me. Strengthen me just once more." Then he placed his hands on the pillars and pushed with all his might. He cried, "Let me die with the Philistines." The temple collapsed, crushing everyone inside, including Samson himself. In his death, Samson killed more of Israel's enemies than he did during his life. His family came and buried him. Samson had led Israel for 20 years. Subscribe, like, and share.